Today I'm having coffee with Carl Topilow. He's the music director and conductor of the Cleveland Pops Orchestra and the Firelands Symphony Orchestra in Ohio, and music advisor to the National Repertory Orchestra in Breckenridge, Colorado. More recently, he's authored a book coming out soon called the Orchestral Conductor's Career Handbook. So I'm going to have a coffee with him and ask him some questions about it. Good morning, Maestro. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
I'm doing as well as we can this year. Yeah, and I'm so
Right.
grateful you decided to have coffee with me this morning.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I should ask, are you currently drinking a coffee? I have my standard drink, which is a double shot of espresso every
Oh,
morning.
that's great. Yeah, if I had an espresso, I'd be up for probably 3 days. I don't have a tolerance for caffeine, and I'm
I see.
afraid orange juice is my beverage of choice. So I know I'm in the
Yeah.
minority. A
Well,
disgrace to my profession, but what can I say?
well, then I should probably ask you the really tough question, which is pulp or no pulp?
It varies. Whatever I happen to grab at the grocery store, with two masks and a shield, I might ask.
Yes, I'll bet. I'll bet. So you are you must be in Cleveland now.
That's correct. Sunny Cleveland at the moment, believe it or not.
Yeah. And is the weather nice there? We're having just a beautiful day here in Kansas.
Yeah, it's 30 degrees, so it's beautiful to an extent, but still chilly.
Beautiful, beautiful from inside looking out the window, maybe.
There you are.
Yeah, we've had such a cold streak recently here in Kansas, in the middle of the country, which is famous. Everyone knows about the big storm that happened a few weeks ago. But yesterday it was 70 degrees, and so
Oh
it's
my.
nice to just go strolling around the neighborhood. It was beautiful. Yeah. What's been keeping you busy since your conducting duties have been curtailed a little bit, I think.
I'd say a lot, actually. I took this opportunity to write a book, which I'm very pleased will be coming out in July, and it's Amadeus Press, which is a subsidiary of Roman and Littlefield, and it's called the Orchestral Conductor's Career Handbook. So this is something I've been thinking about for a long time, and I basically took a bunch of articles that were on my website and then just sort of found a way to make it into a book, and it just kept growing and growing, and I kept thinking of things to add to it, and added one thing at the last minute. I did a talk a few weeks ago, and the topic of outdoor concerts came up. Do you like performing outdoor concerts? What are the pros? What are the cons? I said, I need a section of my book that deals with outdoor concerts. So I just got it in under the wire. The editor said to me, "This is it. Please don't send anything else." But I was able to get the article about outdoor concerts in, and so it's been really pretty exciting. I got a nice endorsement from Leonard Slatkin. He called it a must read, which I'm very excited about. Joanne Folletta, and I'm waiting for a few others. So I'm excited about that. Another project I had was an orchestration of the Gershwin Two Waltzes, which I finished, but it's not been engraved yet. And I've been practicing the piano every day for an hour, and to the point where I just want to be able to play standards and show tunes on the piano. And it's going nicely. I'm really enjoying it. And I work with my granddaughter in Spanish twice a week. I teach her Spanish and take walks. I'm on the treadmill every day, and I guess stay with the clarinet still. Don't lose my chops. And the only performances that we have really done have been with the Cleveland Pops Jazz Ensemble. And I played with them as jazz clarinetists on several occasions for stream programs. And that's sort of it in a nutshell.
Oh, that's it. Just those things.
Yeah.
That was a lot to unpack, Maestro. I could ask you, I could talk with you for an hour on each one of those things you just mentioned. But let me ask you about that book first. It sounds like the book is full of of good advice for conductors, but it's not necessarily musical advice. It's more career advice. Is that right?
Not, I'm sorry, would you say not?
That it's not so much musical advice or conducting
Oh,
advice, but it's more
yeah,
career
it's actually
oriented
both.
advice.
It's actually both.
Oh, okay.
I have an extensive section on programming, on rehearsing, and also one of the impetuses for writing the book was I have 21 articles on my website about my approaches to certain pieces of music, not scholarly, totally practical. And so that's a portion of the book as well. There's things about conducting gestures, about relating to the audience, dealing with boards, librarian, personnel manager, staff. Anyway, it's fairly, hopefully, fairly comprehensive. And so I hope that it proves to be of use to colleagues. And I hopefully also, I mean, maybe as a pipe dream, that there's enough sort of interesting personal stories that the layperson, or at least a board member or orchestra member, would enjoy reading about. So, talking about programming or rehearsing, it's not anything which goes into any sort of esoteric explanations of what makes a great program or a great rehearsal, but pretty down to earth practical stuff. When you have a hand in in the air and you're ready to conduct, don't talk anymore. If you
Seems
stop
so
and you make a
simple.
comment, make that comment, get right back to it, and start at the same tempo that just ended at. So it's a lot of very, very practical things. Even about one of my favorite things is when I talk about conducting for concertos, and to make sure that the soloist never talks to the orchestra. If you have something
Oh,
that you
really?
have to want to do, you talk to the conductor and the conductor will relay that to the orchestra. I had an occasion to play a clarinet, some clarinet pieces with a youth orchestra. And I really had to stop myself because, I'm basically a conductor who plays the clarinet, not the other way around. And I really wanted to
Yeah.
tell the orchestra, down low, up low, shorter, longer, but all my requests I made to the conductors, very, very careful to control myself. So it's a lot of very, very practical advice.
Yeah, I'm sure with your vast experience as a conductor, that was difficult to not be the conductor in that moment.
Really. Also, I think one of the other things that makes the book somewhat unique is that it also deals extensively with pops concerts and pops programming. So it sort of has both sides of the fence. And so,
Yeah, and
I'm
I know
hoping.
that your repertoire is vast and encompasses all the different sides of the world, but you are famously a pops conductor as well. So what are your thoughts on pops conductors versus serious conductor? I don't know what you call it, academic conductors.
I think pops conductors are very serious, although if they're not, they should be about what they do. Well, I think a lot of it's sort of finding that balance, because I don't personally, I want to conduct quality music. And, the guys in Hollywood get paid a lot of money for a reason, because they write really, really good stuff. And so there's a tremendous amount of film music, which is first class, great Broadway music. And then, the creativity that you can have in putting together a pops program. I have a NASA program, which has worked out really, really well with free video from NASA Glenn here in Cleveland. Have a music and sports program, which is a lot of fun. And it just gives you the opportunity to, find some pretty fun stuff to do. And that's the challenge.
Yeah, I'll bet. And then I think, maybe 50 years ago or longer, if you conducted Masterworks concerts, you didn't conduct pops concerts, and vice versa. There were pops conductors and not pops conductors. But nowadays, the music director of a regional orchestra or a assistant conductor has to be able to do it all.
Right. Well, even my regional orchestra in Sandusky, I'll do a so-called Masterworks program. I might do Dvorak Slavonic dances, Samson and Delilah, Bacchanal, Slaughter on 10th Avenue, and another sort of quote unquote pop sort of piece. So I think, and Broadway medley or something like that. I had a program where we did Scotland the Brave, Overture to Brigadoon, Scottish Fantasy by Brooke, and then the second half was West Side Story Overture and Romeo and Juliet by Tchaikovsky. So I am all for mixing and matching. I don't think you have to say that, you know, someone says, well, what are the concerts you're doing with Firelands? Are they pops concerts? Are they classical concerts? No, they're concerts, and they're events. And you know, these sort of pieces even resonate with our public, I think, more than, let's say, a Schubert symphony. With all due respect to Mr. Schubert and Mendelssohn and Beethoven and Brahms, I mean, John Williams is our day. James Horner. Sondheim, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Gershwin. I mean, this great American music that we have at our disposal.
Yeah. And it goes without saying that a lot of really great opera overtures and ballet overtures have become a part of the standard concert repertoire. But would you say that film scores are sort of that American equivalent? You know, a film score is a lot like an opera overture in some ways.
Well, in my opinion, absolutely. I mean, I love conducting The Force Awakens, the 5 movements of The Force Awakens suite. It's just dynamite music, and beautifully orchestrated and exciting, relatable, if there's such a word. And it's really great stuff, and I love doing it, you know?
I think that X-Wing fugue is amazing.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I forgot exactly what it's called, but you know the one. It's the
right.
The very exciting fugue in 3, and geez, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's called Fugue on X-Wing Fugue. I don't remember. Wow, great. And so you said also you're teaching your granddaughter Spanish. Is that right?
Yes. Well, yeah, we have a great time. We just have fun. It's great. You know, I haven't seen her since a year ago, November. So to see her 2-3 times a week is really fun. And one of my hobbies is foreign languages. I have an Italian conversation course I've been taking for years and years now, and I've studied Spanish, rehearsed in Spanish, and studied German, Italian, and big opera person also. One of the things about pops conducting I mentioned in my book is that obviously a quote unquote masterworks conductor, maybe not the best term, would be, let's say, experienced with opera or experienced opera conductor, suddenly is conducting Broadway music. On the surface, it's not a big deal, except that the singer probably has his or her back to you the entire time. They're not probably going to watch you, and you sort of develop this sixth sense, and once in a while you turn around and watch them breathe, and you find a way to connect. And then when they do back phrasing, you know, are they dragging or are they deliberately back phrasing? So these are all things that the conductor has to get used to.
Yeah, I became comfortable conducting opera before I became comfortable conducting American Songbook, for example. And the back phrasing thing really threw me for a while. Now I've got it. Just power on and let the singer do their thing.
That's right. Absolutely.
The first few times I had to, you know, privately, I pulled the singer aside and say, like, what are you doing with the tempo there? And she would say, just go. I'm going to do my thing. Don't ignore me.
Right. I'll catch up.
Yeah. So interesting. And you know, I've been practicing a lot too. I'm a guitarist, classical guitarist. And so especially last spring and over the summer, I practiced a lot, and I hadn't practiced seriously or consistently in years and years. So it was so fun to practice again. But it's a time when conductors who haven't touched their instruments in a while are doing it.
Yeah, we've had such a great association with Jason Yo, classical guitarist. And he lives in Cleveland. He teaches at the Institute of Music, and I've had him 5-6 times playing with orchestras, and he's a delight. He's so cool. Nothing phases him. He just plays great.
Yeah. Wow, wonderful. Sometimes I think I should have stuck with it all those years ago and not turned away from guitar into other things, but no regrets. I really enjoy what I do now.
Well, I'll say good for you.
And it's fun to be a conductor who plays classical guitar, because that's a little unique. I'm not the only one, but it's kind of unique. I suppose there aren't that many conductors who are clarinetists, are there?
Well, maybe a few more than you think. I think Colin Davis was a clarinetist,
Oh, really?
and I have some friends. I was Simon Rattle. Maybe Simon Rattle's son was a clarinetist. But anyway,
Oh,
there are some of us. My friend Al
yeah.
Savia in Evansville is a clarinetist. So there are a few of us.
Great. Great. Now, what's happening in Colorado this summer? I think last summer the festival was probably
Yeah,
canceled, wasn't it?
yeah. Well, we have plans, and we're just hoping they happen. There are restrictions and the size of the orchestra, and things seem to be evolving every day. Yesterday was in Ohio was 300 people in the auditorium, and then the next day was 450, and it's hard to know. I got my first vaccination and
Oh,
feel
great.
semi-liberated, and with the second one, I will feel totally liberated and much better. And we're just hoping that things keep progressing and that this million shots a day will continue, and we can get everybody up to speed. Of course, our problem is all our players are young, and they all have to, almost all of them have to get on an airplane to get to Colorado. So anyway, we have plans in place, and we're just hoping that they all happen. So it's a festival that I've been a part of for many years, and just hope it continues.
Mm. Yeah, we have this Colorado connection in common because you of course work in Colorado every summer, and I studied at the University of Colorado in Boulder.
Oh,
But it
okay.
always seemed like in the summertime I was not in Colorado. In the summertime I was out doing other things, and you'd be in Colorado, and so I never had a chance to go up there and hear any performances.
Indeed.
Yeah, great. Well, what's in store in Cleveland next season?
We have a pop season planned. We're just hoping it all happens. We have some summer concerts we're planning as well. We're not starting until November 12th is the plan, which hopefully pushes
Okay.
things back even further. And we're essentially doing the season we were supposed to do this year with some of the leftover concerts we did do, plus some new ones. It was our 25th anniversary, so we were going pretty traditional with John Williams, Gershwin, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Armed Forces. As it's funny though, in 2001 or 2000, we had the First Army Band come to Breckenridge and collaborate with the NRO, National Repertory Orchestra in Breckenridge. And he said, "This is unbelievable." It was so amazing, and hearing the 1812 overture with voices, and no, it was the band and the soldiers chorus. And so since May 2001, we have had an Armed Forces concert every year with the Cleveland Pops Orchestra, including, as I mentioned, the First Army Band and Soldiers Chorus. And we've used individual soloists, we've used the whole chorus, used the whole band, we used the jazz band. So we've had a wonderful association. And what was planned last year was their 6-string, I think it's called, ensemble, which is, I think, basically sort of like a country fiddle sort of thing that they have arrangements for. So we hope to resurrect that again. And so every year I like to say, we reinvent the tank. We have a
Yeah.
new program every year, an Armed Forces program. And it's really exciting, such wonderful music. And it's always been my goal not to make it too morose. I've seen these concerts sometimes, there's such downers. Not that, I'm not in any way saying that the incredible sacrifice made by servicemen and women. I mean, look, I have the utmost respect for that. But, we always do John Williams fanfares and such, some of the heroes. And a couple of times we've done Minuet Militaire by Peter Shickley, PDP Rock,
Oh,
which is a very
yes.
funny piece. And we'll do the finale of 1812 overture and bring someone up from the audience or a sponsor to play the chimes at the end. So I want to make it respectful, obviously, but still fun and upbeat and have a nice positive, optimistic feel to it. and we've had a lot of fun. The
Well, I
last
learned a
time we
bunch of
did,
lessons.
last time we did the fanfare for the common man with the group, we had all the brass players encircling, with uniforms, and then our players just one after the other, like a horseshoe around the back of the sides of the orchestra. It was pretty amazing. It was quite something. And as you say, as you know well, these are all great players, and
Yes.
it's really quite something. I was sent the John Williams recording with the Marine Band that he conducted of his music, and it's stunning.
Yeah.
Great playing.
That Marine Band in DC is top notch, and the field band and these ensembles that you're talking about as well. Just some of the best musicians in the country.
Really.
And I learned very well from my time in the Army, since you were talking about concerts being morose, that there's a big difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day, for example. And even on the 4th of July, when you want to program something on the 4th of July that sort of pays homage to the sacrifice of the men and women who served, but it's a celebratory occasion. And even on Memorial Day, celebrating the wonderful things that our fallen brothers and sisters did is fun. And then also, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I like to create an arc in my programming, and to have like one really personal, sentimental moment where you maybe get sad, or you address something that's a little bit darker in nature. It's wonderful, but then you have to end on a high note, I think.
I mean, the Hymn to the Fallen from Private Ryan with chorus is just really very gripping, and we've done that a lot. But the 1812 with chorus, which I really heard live for the first time many years ago, that concert that I mentioned, and finding that balance. We do a sing-along at the end of every concert. We have the flag drop for Stars and Stripes, and when we have a guest band, they come right marching down the aisle and play along with this. There's a lot of very upbeat and uplifting and really stirring music.
Yeah, that's great. One of my first concerts ever when I joined the Army, I was in basic training all spring long and all summer. And then I finally got to my first unit, which was in Newport News, Virginia. It was the Training and Doctrine Command Band. And we did the 1812 Overture for our summer season finale. And I got to command the cannon. So I literally, my job was just to do that. And then it was these non-musicians firing artillery. And so I had to learn how far in advance I had to make the motion before they would fire. And then I had to do that early because I was listening to the band play 100 yards away. And so I'm sure things weren't quite together from the audience perspective, but man, Can you imagine? That was so much fun.
I can. Well, we use electronic cannons.
Yeah, I bet they're more on time for sure.
Yeah, right.
Oh, that's so wonderful, and it's really great to well, we're not meeting in person, but it's really nice to see you and talk with you like this, because it's so hard to get together in person nowadays, and I'm able to meet with more people and talk with more people this way than I would if there were no pandemic, ironically.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with my granddaughter. It's the most she lives in Charlotte, and it's the most I've seen her since she's been born, really. See her 2-3 times a week.
Yeah, strange. Yeah, and how is it going with the students at CIM?
Well, I'm not there anymore. I was there for a long time, and they seem to be meeting again and doing limited instrumentation concerts. Seems to be what's going on now. But everyone's suffering with this.
Of course, yeah. At my university in Topeka, Kansas, we're still having face-to-face orchestra, but our numbers are greatly reduced. And of course, we're wearing masks, and with distance and everything, it's very hard to program. And then it's very hard to play with any sort of sense of unity at all.
Really?
When you're sitting 6 feet away from your stand partner, and all the string players have individual stands, so page turns are a nightmare.
Really?
We're playing, the string orchestra is playing the Dvorak string serenade right now, and there's one point in which the whole cello section has to turn their pages quickly, and then for 2 bars I just lose them. And
You have any reading off tablets at all?
Not so much. I have one or two students that like to do that, but mostly I'm always surprised that, because I think that young people are going to show up with that kind of technology. But I don't know. I think we musicians like paper.
I remember doing a concert, and I had just got my iPad. I did the first half of a program at Severance Hall, and I don't know how it came to my attention, but I had better put on the do not disturb. Otherwise, the phone's going to ring during the concert on your iPad. So fortunately, I figured that out. That's not good.
And do you use an iPad regularly? Do you like looking at scores?
I've actually been sending a lot of music through Fourscore, which is on my iPad, and I've done some conducting, but you still have to sit and enter every page into the iPad. So depends. I think if for the outdoor concerts I do this summer, I think I'm going to use that, because otherwise you got pages flying all over the place, and it's a little hard to deal with clothespins.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the outdoor concerts are problematic for lots of reasons, but I have this terrible fear that my battery will die, or my screen will go dead and I won't be able to turn the page, or that some other catastrophe will happen.
Yeah, turning
And
the
at least
page.
with the score, I can control the score.
Right. It's
Yes,
hard
sir.
to turn the page sometimes. So I haven't quite figured it out, whether you touch it or you swipe it. But there's I always have the hard copies no matter what.
That's good. Yeah, from time to time, I don't have an iPad, I have another device, but from time to time, I'll tap the screen and the page won't turn, or two pages will turn. And so that I experienced that once or twice, and I said, I'm never using this in a performance ever. It's too dangerous.
That's really something.
But I know plenty of conductors who do it, and they have a lot of success with it. And then they make fun of me because I travel around with this big bag of scores, and they say, you can put all your scores in this little thing.
Yeah, that's all you need. That's funny.
I'm curious what some of your observations that you mentioned in your book. You spend a little bit of time talking about outdoor concerts, and I'm curious what advice you have for us regarding outdoor concerts. Is it that kind of logistical stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically all logistical, having to do with making sure everyone has clothespins or a shield that they can put over their music. Starting the concerts with the Star Spangled Banner. It's usually a good idea, especially for holiday times. Seeing if there's a local person who might be able to sing or play, or find the sponsor to conduct the March from Carmen or something like that. So there are ways to interact that way. If you're taking a bus, make sure you know who's taking a bus and who's driving, so everyone's accounted for. If it's kids, make sure they have their change of clothes, their music, their bows, their instruments, their reeds. So a lot of sort of practical stuff. I can't remember everything, but it's just sort of some basic things. Making sure that the sound system is good. And I said many a concert's been ruined by terrible sound system. Make sure you have an experienced sound person, because if you have someone who's only done rock bands and you want to amplify an orchestra, it could be a problem. And also the subject of sound checks. A really good sound company could make those changes on the fly. They make those adjustments during the concerts, subtle adjustments, and there are different kinds of amplifications. I've seen orchestras where they put a clip over the bridge, on the bridge of the string players' instruments. Some have directional mics, and so that's why it's so important to have a really good person. Make sure you test the microphones before the concert. The microphones of if there's a soloist or the conductor, make sure that level is good. And nowadays, while this is all going on, you have to make sure that your microphone's been cleaned, and everyone has their own individual microphone, which has been Cloroxed. How's that for a verb? And to make sure that there's no transmission, because you're singing, you're talking, you're spitting into the microphone, and maybe that'll stay there. So It's just a lot. I didn't put the stuff about now that I think about it, I didn't say anything about individual microphones for sanitary reasons, but even pre-pandemic, that's probably a good idea. So it's all practical stuff.
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of that advice is coming from personal experience, maybe.
Always. Yeah, really. And this, like I
I
said,
know.
the biggest
I've heard.
one really is the sound company, you know, and then sometimes you'll have a color guard as well, and they have to be coordinated, and so there's just a lot of details. Yeah, I forgot about the color guard. They're not going to let me change anything. So
No,
have to
it's
wait
too
till the
late now. You'll
second
have to give
printing.
you'll have to give a workshop or a seminar about it.
There you go.
In case anyone who's watching doesn't know what you're talking about, a color guard is not a thing conductors think about very often, but at patriotic concerts, often there's a color guard, which is a few soldiers or maybe they're ROTC students, and they carry the national flag and the flag of the services and sometimes the state flag, and they have to march in, and it's very ceremonial. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful moment for the audience, but if you don't know anything about it as a conductor, you'd better figure it out.
Plus, you have to make sure they have a rehearsal, that they know what you're supposed to do. We had, and then when you dip the flag, that's when you start the Star Spangled Banner. Okay, now here you go. This is something that you think that people could figure out. So we met with the color guard before the concert. I said, when I come out, that's when you come down the aisle and present the colors. When I come out. So the concertmaster comes out to tune, who's about a foot taller than me and blonde and younger. And the guys start marching in. I mean, it's just unbelievable. When you think about
a lot of things can go wrong because you've got a color guard and they don't necessarily know anything about orchestral concerts.
They don't know anything
and then
about,
you've got orchestra musicians who don't know anything about color guards. Yeah.
Well, they can't tell the difference between me and the concertmaster. That's a problem. So next time we did it, somebody was back there with them to make sure that they didn't come on the stage until someone told them to do it.
I'm very aware of these things because of my military experience. I thought I had this completely under control, and I did it was a Memorial Day concert in Boulder, and I talked with the color guard in advance. Everything was really well discussed, but what I didn't know was that they had rehearsed a little bit of I don't know what you call it, a turnaround. So they were, going to march into the front of the stage, and then they did kind of a 180-degree wheel, and then they faced the audience. And they didn't tell me that, and we didn't do it. We discussed it, but we didn't do it. And so the lesson I learned that day was do it so you can see it, because when they got to the right place, I started the anthem, and then they were still marching around during the anthem. It was, I wish we had practiced. Right.
It's amazing. It's crazy.
Well, Maestro, I'm so grateful for your time, and it was lovely to have a coffee with you, even if you're drinking orange juice.
My great pleasure, Silas. Thank you, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. I hope we'll get to meet in person soon.
Sounds like a plan.